Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be talking about everything to do with the stock market right now ahead of some key news that'll be coming out within the next 24 hours. We'll also be talking about our technical analysis levels for the SP 500, Nasdaq, Bitcoin, Tesla, gold, Nvidia, AMC and more. A lot's been happening in the markets and it's just about to get really heated up. Stay tuned to find out more. Alright guys, well the best place for us to start today's video is always going to be a recap of the market's close 26th of August 2021. And when we take a look at this heat map here, you'll notice not really that many things were safe. We had some good earnings results coming out from some companies such as Salesforce. That's had a good breakout recently on it. And overall, the rest of the stocks were very, very mixed. The most important thing then to do is to go and look at the indices. How did they react throughout the day? How did they react to, of course, the news coming out of Afghanistan and other places? Well, it wasn't all good. Of course, the market did start to decline. And I think more importantly, it sold off further into the close. This is really where the market is doing the big moves. This is where the Wall Street guys are getting in. They're making the decisions, the super funds, the 401ks, they're kind of making their bigger positions for the next day. And because of the Jackson Hole Symposium, because of course we've got Fed Papa Powell talking just into the market open during the Friday session, I think a lot of selling was occurring here. This marks day 2 of selling into the close. And if we get a day 3, it really means something quite large. So just remember, selling into the close is important because it shows Wall Street sentiment. And if we get a sell-off into the Friday session, that could be something kind of big there. Let's move over to the actual indices. Let's see if utilities and consumer staples and stuff were doing better than the others. Look, utilities was close to the top. Consumer staples was close to the top, as was healthcare. These are the more defensive sectors. Energy's been on such a run. To lose 1.52% in a day is not that much. So I don't think there's much to take from these sectors here. You can see they were bunched up fairly close together. Nothing too notable. Without further ado, we'll get into the technical analysis. And this is where things get a little bit more interesting. We have a fully trapped dollar index. In fact, it's a full channel here. We've got 1, 1, 2, 2, to our resistance support side. We drew this earlier in the week. You guys can have a look at it. I think we've trapped this incredibly well and we're looking for a break either side unless you're trading within the ranges here. So break below 92.80, break above 93. Both will trigger some really nice trades, I think. And this is something that we're looking at. The dollar index has been strong in recent weeks. Will it continue its strength? You need a break to the upside. I'd actually want it to close above 93.13 on a significant time frame just to get above these wicks. But yeah, things looking much, much cleaner there. Okay, we'll move over to US oil now and have a look at this. So US oil, big blow throughs of quite a few resistance support areas. We had previous support becoming resistance. Obviously that then blew through, went to the next level of resistance, and we then see all of these key levels starting to appear. It looks like it's taking a breather. We've got long leg doji now on 2 points. So we've got basically a long leg doji here, indecision again, break above, break below. Both will cause quite big crashes or quite big moves. I would like to see a movement here down, if it does happen, underneath 67. And there are a few reasons why this would be great for traders, because it would allow us to pick up, US oil, black gold at something like the 65. This would be a really sweet zone. So if it does get underneath and close under 67, I would be looking for the 65 movement. If that occurs, look for maybe purchases, little lightning bolts, etc. around the 65. If we get above this, you've got to think it's going back to $70 for US oil. So some interesting stuff here occurring on the charts. We'll move over to gold now and have a look at gold. If you take a look at this chart, it's got a lot of indecision, but there has been some decision made recently on the smaller timeframes. 4-hour long leg doji. No question, that's long leg doji. We get a decision made. We get slight buying coming through. I'm sure a few people were picking up gold around here. And now we're at the tippity top resistance. So we're right around the zone that you need this to break out. This is a resistance we've had for quite some time. It started over here with the indecision. Now we're back at it. Let's take a look at the daily for gold, because daily is probably going to show us the cleaner story. See this big rejection, see the indecision. Closure above. Let's go back to 18.10. and possibly even really start moving into that 1830 range. So I would like to see it at 1830. That makes sense. Even the options where they are sitting in the options world of gold, they're all sitting at like 1840 is the top end range. And I think it's like something around 1760 is the bottom end range. So really the market should be trapped within this area. I'm looking for a closure above this 1797 and that to trigger buying back to the 1810 and then hopefully the 1830. That's really the overall zone here that we're looking for, 1830 on gold. Now we'll go into the stocks, and Tesla is always the discussion point. Tesla comes to 700 yesterday, a little bit lower. We had a low through the session of 697. So that's really exactly what we were talking about. 697, people would have picked up a little bit off this. Previous resistance, previous support, previous resistance becomes support again. It's important now that Tesla gets flow back into it. And there are a few interesting things that we can watch. Number one is going to be, what's the algo flow showing for the stock? So is there a positive kind of sentiment coming in from Wall Street, the bigger traders and the traders in general? Well, yes, there is. I mean, the overall positive sentiment was there in the algo flow during the session, even though the price was coming down. So there was a good flow coming through. Now, when we have a look at the flow heat map of the actual options, net positive or negative to the puts, wow, what a story change here. We've gone from being incredibly positive for the strike on the 27th of April, 27th of August, I mean. We've gone from an incredibly positive strike of 720, 715, 710, all being net positives, to actually being net negatives. So this means the amount of people that have been opening puts on Tesla this week has been phenomenally large. We do have large calls sitting at 680 for the next week. This is in September. But at this stage, these have all gone from net positive to net negative over the last couple of days of trade. That's some phenomenal moves. And if you start to see price action coming in your favor and the algo flow going positive as well, this is really going to show that Wall Street and, of course, retail traders are starting to pile in and have a lot more belief. And that should hopefully be able to push it through. We don't have the wall at 720 anymore like we did earlier in the week. So it could be very positive for Tesla. On the surface, it looks incredibly negative because everything's gone put. But if that can hold 700, if it holds this range, shows a lightning bolt, shows that takeoff, there could be some good stuff there. So definitely watch it through the session. Nvidia 220 still remains really the key zone. If we have a look at the flow heat map, again, another one that's taken a huge battering in terms of the amount of puts that have been put on it. Everyone's been shorting, everyone's been taking the calls off the table. And you can notice here, we're only at 209.64K in terms of the positives here. So Nvidia net became a put fest. I think this opens up the ability for it to go through, but realistically on the charts, it's still looking a little shaky. Nothing much to report on the daily. The 4 hour, again, nothing much to report. The 2 hour, really, is there much to report? I mean, it did come back to the previous resistance. That's acting as a little bit of support, but I think it's taking a small hiatus while it had that massive move up. I mean, this is a big move. 190 all the way to 220 on a large company. It's still nothing to really be kind of going, wow, that's not a big move. Let's keep going. Let's go to another $100 billion. It's not as easy as that, and I think it will take a breather here based on what we're seeing. Let's move over to AMC. Now, this is where things get more interesting, guys. AMC 40.37. So it comes back to exactly the point that we've been talking about for 2 days. So hopefully you guys have been a little bit patient here if you missed out on that initial rush or you were day trading within that zone, taking in and taking out. This is the point where AMC has to come good. Resistance or previous supports becoming resistance, 40.50. I mean, if it gets underneath here, really the next level is around $38-ish. But you'll notice the 20 moving average on the 2 hour. We go over to the daily here, take a look at the charts. It's not looking super positive, but this or down here at around this 37 are the two areas that should see the bounce. If we take a look at algo flow, as you expect, it was negative throughout the session. Everybody's been negative on AMC since that initial boom kind of area, and this is the key area. But I want to move away to GME for a second just to show how important recognizing the key levels is. So we've been talking about this for 2 days now, this level of 196. And you'll notice that both times it's bounced off it, produced a buy, bounced off it, produced a buy, and it's still holding above. So even while AMC was suffering, was moving down 8.3% overall, we have GME holding the line, actually holding up a lot better comparatively. So again, just recognizing those levels can be key. Move over to the indices. We'll start with IWM. So it was approaching that kind of really key resistance zone. As we know, it's now found an engulfing candle to the sell side. I'm not really looking to sell or buy or anything, but this is a negative sentiment for IWM in the middle of the range. We always have these longer term targets for it. We've obviously got the 208 support we're looking at and the 233 resistance. If you're in the middle of the range and you want to trade, yes, this would be the area that shorters would come in. It makes sense. And I think that's cool, but it's really just more to augment your other opportunities. I mean, when you move over to the US 500, you see the much better trades, the much cleaner technical analysis. We have support, or resistance, support, 4480. We highlighted this in our live stream. We highlighted this in yesterday's video. It remained one of the more important things. I think people had the opportunity to definitely trade the Nasdaq yesterday towards the short side and make some okay cash as well. We'll take a look at that in a second. But come market open, come the Jackson Hole discussion by the Fed, this is where the bulls and the bears will be fighting it out, at least on the smaller time frames. You can see here we're on a 1 hour chart. It needs to sell off here, come down to 4460, and if it breaks underneath 4460, well, we're really in a bit of a sell-off period. If we get strength here, pull back down to 4480, this would be a really great reload zone for the bulls and movement back up to the 4500. So there's two ways to play a neutralized area, and we're at that point of role reversal at this stage. If we move over to the QQQ, it's the same kind of thing. But let's take a look at the actual fake market futures Nasdaq just for a second, because these were the levels we were looking at yesterday. So we had the 15,350. We had the 15,300. So let's bring that down here. There we go. And we were talking about the resistances here that were coming into the start of the market. We were talking about a close above this, triggering to the 15.4, and it did not occur. It got underneath 15.3. We didn't quite get underneath it here, see, or here. And then eventually it did. And then it was just like quickly rebound. There was so much FUD and bits of news coming out that obviously were very terrible out of all around the world. And that was creating a huge amount of spasmodic kind of trading. The algorithms didn't really know what to do. On 1 second they came down, the next second they came up. You can see in the actual price action itself, the market didn't really have a clean direction. And this can be a bit of a trigger that sometimes you might not want to trade if you see something like that, where it goes down, and then up again really quickly. Because what it's showing you is that the market really doesn't have an idea of how to interpret this data currently. At the time of recording, we're at 15,327, but we'll go back over to the QQQ and we'll take a look at where the close happened, because the close really is the key. So the close happened near the low. Although we're recovering at this point, the close happened near the low. Let's take a look at the daily. So from a daily perspective, we're still quite far away from the daily 20. The daily 20 could meet it if it came down at around that 369, which would be a very cool level for it to come back down to. Previous resistance highs, good level of support for buyers to come back in. That would make sense now if that did occur, even after the Fed talks and Jerome talks. And this would be a pretty easy level for people to target. If we go down to the 4 hour, let's have a look. Again, still looks relatively weak. We didn't get underneath that 372 low for the day. And we go down to the 1 hour, and it still looks relatively weak. So let's say the market did open here and it wasn't opening bullish. This is fairly negative overall, but with the real market price action, I would feel like 374, we close above that, and we'll bust that high. I really don't see how that high will be holding if it closes above here. So for the discussion points on Friday, gets underneath this zone, we keep going down to 369, very likely, I think, from a statistic standpoint. 374, we close above. I'm not really too concerned about the left-hand resistance anymore. I feel like at that point, you're putting in a shorter-term double bottom, and you're really just saying, all right, onwards and upwards, let's go. And that kind of makes more sense to the charts at that point. We'll move over to Bitcoin and crypto and what's going on there. Well, it did come down very close to our 46,000 call. Wow, very, very, very close. So 46 or the 20 moving average, it makes sense to bounce here. This is really where the war of the whales and of course the smaller investors and everybody else is. This is a very important level to hold. We discussed if this point goes broken close, it's going to be similar to the S&P 500 a few weeks ago, where once it closes below the 20, it's going to be allowed to get to the 50, I believe. And that's going to be around that 42,500 zone. So watch this like a hawk into the weekend. If you're a crypto trader, you need to be paying attention to this. But I think more importantly, go and have a look at BTC shorts and also Ethereum shorts. Because look at Ethereum shorts. Compared to BTC shorts, which are doing nothing, Ethereum shorts are starting to creep up there. And this does not bode well. I would go through and have a look at other times that Ethereum shorts have gone up and how the market has reacted after those events. Take a look, see whether there's a synergy with your types of trades, and just be careful there, guys. Is this a time to reload? I think it's a decent zone around that 46. I'm actually quite bullish on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other things into the back of the year. But overall, this is a very important area, and we need to be watching the Ethereum shorts and the BTC shorts. So good luck out there. Of course, when we're talking about Jerome Powell and the Fed, the time that will be coming out is 10 a.m. on the ET time. So that's the New York time, and you can go check out Fed Chair Powell's speech. You can get it from Philly Fed, I believe, on YouTube, and I'll share the link for being able to watch that live in the public Discord community. So if you're interested in watching what Papa Powell has to say, other than going directly to the source, I think always going directly to the source is the best thing. So go to the Discord, go into the public general chat, and I'll put the link in there for you guys. Thanks so much. Remember to subscribe and smash that like button if you enjoy the videos, and we'll see you in another video and live stream very soon. Bye for now.